So Nakamichi was to cassette decks what Technics was or is to turntables. They made a lot of models, and for good reason. They were excellent. So in this video, I'm going to show you the differences between the 670ZX and the top-of-the-line 680ZX. Okay, I happen to have two of the 600 series line, the 670 and the 680ZX. Now there was a third model in the model line. The lowest model was a 660. So right away, if you want to notice the quick difference, I think it's pretty obvious, the meters. So on the lower two lower end models, the 660 and the 670, they both came with these analog meters. Still cool looking, but back in the day, if you wanted something high-end, everything incorporated some kind of digital meter. And on this 680, that's what they did. They incorporated the digital meter here. If you wanted the top of the line, you had to spend the money and then get the meters, which is probably a pretty big selling point. I can tell you that this 680 was not inexpensive even when it came out. Initially, the MSRP was around $900. And not inexpensive even today, but I think it was in the model line about 6 or 7 years, and by the time it neared its end of its life cycle, the price tag had gone up to $1,800. So not inexpensive whatsoever. And if you wanted those meters, you certainly had to pay for it. Now, unfortunately, offhand, I don't remember what the MSRP was on the 670 or even the 660, but I'm sure they were, still pretty expensive, but probably quite a bit less expensive than the top of the line. So the other features that are different here, now I don't know on the top of my head, I think the 660 did not incorporate what both of these have, which is called RAM, or Random Access Music Memory. And if you're not familiar with what that is, it's probably the most important feature that a cassette deck could have incorporated outside of recording quality or playback quality. So if you remember, if you've used cassettes and you're familiar with them, to find the next song, you essentially have to stop, fast forward, play, and listen. Are you at the next song or not? It's not a precise process. Well, what the RAM did was it looked for the gaps between the songs and then would stop there and then play. So you could initiate it and then hit how many tracks did you want to skip, and it would, on this one, be indicated here. So if you wanted to skip ahead 2 tracks, you would hit the indicator twice and it would show here, and it would skip 2 songs and then stop and then initiate the play. Same thing on the 680, except the indicator is built into the meter to the left here. So once you engage it, it would skip that many songs and then play that song. So I'll initiate it here and let you see what that looks like. So you initiate it with hitting fast forward, and then you hit the pause, and then you hit pause again, and that says go forward 1 track. So it's going to skip or continue to fast forward, look for the gap, and then as soon as it finds it, it'll stop and then initiate play. Probably a very long song, taking longer than I expected. There it goes. So now it's playing the next track. Had you done this manually, you would have tried to guess about how much more time was left looking at your counter, stopped, you would have started, and then you would have seen that probably the wrong song and done that 2 or 3 times before you actually got to the next track. Much more efficient way of doing it, much more pleasant way of doing it. So I'm sure that was a huge selling feature. Now on the 680, it's the same process. To initiate it, you hit fast forward. To engage RAM, you hit pause, and then pause again, and you can continue to hit pause for how many tracks you wanted to skip ahead, and it would fast forward until it found that gap. Once it found the gap, it would then hit stop and then play. Of course, I was hoping I could time that well, but I clearly am not. There it goes. And jumps right into play with the cool meters. So that alone probably sold more cassette decks as upgrades than any other feature in my mind, because it simply was so needed. If you had a cassette and you really wanted to get to that next song, that was the easiest way to do it and most efficient. So the other big selling point and the big difference of the 680 over the 670 is this feature here. So this is called half track or half tape speed. So what you would do, so put it back, this is normal tape speed when it's to the right, and when you click it to the left, you go to half speed. So what that would do is essentially put twice as much music on a cassette as it would in standard mode. So a 60-minute cassette became a 120-minute cassette. Pretty cool feature if you were really wanting to maximize the amount of recording you could do. However, you couldn't play that tape if it was in half speed on another machine, unless of course it was another machine that had half speed. And that was not the common case. Most cassette decks just played in one speed. Certainly if you were in your car, you most likely didn't have a cassette deck. I'm not even sure if they had a cassette deck for cars that would play it, unless Nakamichi came out with one. So you were pretty much limited to the machine you recorded it on. So I doubt it was used a lot back when this first came out. However, I think it probably is much more useful today. If you are an enthusiast and are making your own tapes, you're probably not running out to your car and taking that tape with you. You're probably listening to it at home. So probably today, if you were to buy one of these and incorporate that feature and make your cassettes in half speed, you probably would get more use out of it than when this initially came out. So kind of interesting, a feature that I think is more relevant today than it was when it was new. So that's pretty much it. I don't think I have too many other features to point out. The other standard features for recording settings and things like that are pretty common amongst other cassettes. There's no difference here between these two. And either way, both of them are really great cassettes. They have the same tape heads. They have the same tape quality for playback and recording, I believe. I don't think there's any difference there. So just for listening, either would have been fine. Of course, if you like the cool digital meters, that would have been a pretty big difference. But anyway, that's pretty much the summary. If you've got any questions, comments about the review, please let me know. Put those in the comments below. And of course, if you want to make sure you don't miss an upcoming new video, please hit that subscribe button. Thanks.